All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here, Angelus, son of Abaddon. And today I'd like to discuss with you a little bit about what's been going on, what's been unfolding, and what I've been doing in my own life, okay? From a magical and spiritual perception, okay, or point of view. First off, I've been digging into mythology, folklore, and have begun my third essay for my book and writing that out. The first one dealt with what necromancy is, how it is and has been perceived over the last 1,000 or so years. Okay. The second essay delved into the spiritual applications of them from how they were viewed to how they were brought together through the gods themselves and to the spirits. And the third, I'm actually surrounding it around the ritualized perceptions. So there's a lot going on still within this book and how it's unfolding. And it's going to be a book based solely off necromancy and necromantic practices within all applications. Okay, that is the first thing. Now, ever since I got into the Mazajir Cabal system and really started delving into the mythology, the folklore, and the various regions surrounding the beings that are worshipped, prayed to, and everything, and then finding out my own personal towers that I relate to. You know, I've started a grimoire solely off that, and I want to keep it as a, how should I say this, a record for myself. And this is why. Over the last year and a half, my personalized studies within the Mazajera Cabal system has led me through Welsh, Irish, Scottish, Germanic, Slavic, Hungarian, Greek, even Egyptian, the old world style of practice, the deities and how they were seen, the different names of the practitioners and how they were viewed. The beings themselves, it's taken many hours of intense study, practice, research, just to discover who these beings are. And a lot of this stuff has been forgotten over the last 100 years because of the fact that new systems have popped up and nobody's really interested in learning the old folklores, the old style historical versions of witchcraft and sorcery. Everybody's claiming to have the original, but when you actually delve into these mythologies and you get into the various regions of where they're spoken of and how they were perceived, the applications of dealing with them and the deals that they made with their enemies. Okay, it is something that's very unique. Now, I'm not speaking to you as a traditional Satanist in this view because of the fact that Satanism really doesn't have a view here. It's all mythological. It's all historical accounts. And Satanism, as far as I could tell, goes back a very long way in itself. Patricia and Lionel Fanthorpe, in their book Demonolatry, uh, really pulled that one off throughout Egypt, Greek, European, Middle Eastern traditions, and how they were seen through cave paintings and art history. Okay, but it doesn't have anything to do with necromancy in itself. It has nothing to do with the Tower of Atropy or the Tower of Secrets or whatever. It's when you delve into these individual entities, you go into the regions of where they're spoken of. You see them, like, say, for example, the Drelith. And I've talked about this in the past a little bit. The Drelith, of how they were seen in Norse or Anglo-Saxon, Swedish, if you wish, going into Proto-Germanic standards, going into Indo-European traditions, how they were perceived as either being light beings of celestial or beauteous nature, full of knowledge and being beneficial to humans through their knowledge and their education. This would be classified today as angels, just as an example. But then you have their darker counterparts, known as the dark elven, and how they are associated with baneful things like destruction, plagues, disease, and how they were viewed as being, say, Cocodamon today in Greek, the demons that the JCI speak of. But rarely do you see how the black elven were viewed. And when you delve into the scripts and you delve into the folklores and mythology, and you see firsthand of how these three were viewed and portrayed within history, much like the Sith or Siddhi. Okay, depending if you're going from Irish or Scottish traditions, it's the same thing when you get into the actual titles of practitioners. And in Africa, you have the Edgi, or then you have Swedish, the Hexa, Italian, Strega. Okay, every name is different. Every perception is different, and how they are viewed. And when you practice, literally takes you into Russian witchcraft and sorcery, and you've traced it literally back to around 650 BE, or BCE era, which is before Christ era, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And you see the history and the richness of the knowledge and the practices. That's something you cannot find without intense research and dedication. That's things that really are mind-blowing. And through art and history and how it's portrayed and seen, like the spirit box or the limiting of idol worship, and how everything played into account for the men's minds and their perceptions of things. But necromancy in itself, dealing with these beings, is something unique. Dealing with the revenants, the lycanthropes, the ghouls, the reavers, the vampiric, and the zombie, the banshee, and you know all these other death agents. And then when you delve into the tower itself, there's so much information. There's just so much information that it's amazing how you can keep it going. I mean, I've got notebooks full of information just from what I've studied of these beings, the links, the connections between, um, say, for example, the Glicks, which is German, and then you have the Leech. Okay, both of these meaning corpse or death. You get into Greek and you have necro. You go into Latin and you have nigromancy. Okay, things dealing with the dead. You get herbalism. You have alchemical processes. You have physical practices being seen, spanning back over 2,500 years, if not more. And then to see how your study takes you from through these regions into Slavic. And as you're delving into Slavic witchcraft, and all of a sudden you're seeing the connection to voodoo, and you delve into voodooism, and you're seeing the zombie powder, like say in Haitian Boudin. Okay, you're dealing with the process of alchemy and herbalism, but more so the spiritual applications and how to grasp that mind frame of your target. In spellcasting, this is very important, especially the astrological accounts, or that of, just for an example, the hours of that can be used through the lunar cycles to better employ your magic, your sorcery. Hey, Raphael. Noel, what's going on? So yeah, there's just so much information, and I had an opportunity to either start typing up all my notes or start a grimoire. So I decided I'm just going to start a grimoire, and I started doing it. Starting with the Buried King, to which I'm still trying to find the link on that one, by the way. And I recently, after a year and a half, finally found a link to the Witches of the Depths, or in this case, Zashira. Okay, and since I've been doing a lot of invocations and spiritual summonings with Zashira, the Hag of the Pit, I've been working a lot with the Witches of the Depths. Dealing with the Dralith, the Sith, Adnaan, Chernobog, and the Draconic. You know, I've got so much information written down that, or let's just say my better half is getting a little aggravated because my paperwork is all over the living room. I'm just getting in the way, and she's telling me it's time to either write it or toss it. And it's like, oh, come on. It's like, don't tell me what to do. But anyways, so I started going through the towers, and I ended up writing stuff down and seeing the hierarchy of the beings, from the head of the tower to the ranking systems to the guardians and protectors to all these other beings associated. So I started writing a journal. I went out Bought this for about $4. Picked up a couple of them, about three, over at Ocean Lot. What do they call that? Ocean something. It's like Job Lot, basically. They're like $3, even though it says $3.99 on the back. It's Ocean State Job Lot. There we go. But it's like I said, it's like $3.99. These things, these things could be used for journaling. It could be used as a grimoire. It could be used in a lot of different areas, even for note taking. But in this case, I want to write everything down. I want to draw out the seals, and I want to, and basically, I want to put everything in order, so that I have and once I have everything in here and the way I want it, I'll create a grimoire, an actual grimoire from scratch, and separate them so that it shows who's who and the ranking system. Because as of right now, I've been setting up my altar room little by little. I've been, for the Mazagiris, method, still having a hell of a time with the seal of Arilla. That is just, that's proven to be a freaking challenge, especially in my inner sanctum where it's already full as can be. And you have this narrow walkway where you can go in, and you got your altar down at the other end, and then you got another altar as soon as you walk in. You got your supplies over on this side, and then you got everything else. So you got to find room on the floor for the circle of Arilla. Trying to get that circle in a perfect circle, or at least close to it as possible, and then you got to get the lines, and then you got to form the seals and the symbols on top of that. And it's like, great, how the hell am I going to be doing this, and how am I going to get into doing this? So I was told it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's there. Yeah, that's going to be an issue with me because I'm basically a perfectionist in that when it comes to things. Consider it OCD if you wish. I once something gets in my mind, I just can't shake it until I get it out. So it's one of those. It's like history. I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm going to follow it until I find the answers that I'm seeking. Until it comes to fruition and completion. So I mean, delving into these spirits and these beings, I've studied probably 1%, 1% of all these books, and I should say all these books by Sumner Stredwood, not mentioning the PDFs that I have that were sent to me, things that I printed out because I wanted to remember them so that my Gmail wouldn't delete them. The more I study, the more I research, the more I come to the understanding that what people are being led to believe today is a lie. It's things that you're led to believe, things that you're told, things that when you join a coven, for an example, you have to learn their way and their way only. When you're a solitary, you can go into whatever. But most people, they normally stick to one region. They don't break out into all other regions of the world and learn from them. And if you do, they're just going to sit there and argue with you. And it's like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to state the fact. I'm going to speak my piece. And if you don't like it, there's the fucking door. That's just my nature these days. You know? But to see, like I said, each one of these spirits and where they go into, it's freaking spectacular. mind blowing. I can see why their system of magic and sorcery is so potent. I can see why they've kept it secret for so long, only to reveal it, over the last decade or so. There's the knowledge, the wisdom, the history, the mythology. It's intact. It's pure. And for me, it's more like my own personal drug. You know, for me, it's that magic, it's that knowledge, it's that wisdom, it's that mythology. I gotta know. I gotta practice. You know, maybe that's just because I'm a dedicated sorcerer. I don't know. But I just wanted to give you guys, an update on what I've been doing and how I've been going around doing it. Yep, caught her by surprise, and she's not too happy about it. Ironically, she'll come back for more too. But yeah, um, check into folklore, get into art history, get into necromancy and the old school. Most recently, also, I've been getting into the history of blood sorcery and bloodletting, and I actually found a link that goes back over 1,000 years. And during this link, it actually linked other areas. Now, through my own personal studies in the Mazajir Cabal system, I've come into connotation that, I should say conjunction really, that shamanism and necromancy were once widely viewed. Through my own studies, my own personal studies, this is fact. How they were viewed to be so similar that they were viewed as one and the same. More so, it's ironic that even though their practices were similar and are similar, it is the methods that were employed that cause the division between them. Shamans don't like necromancers, and necromancers don't like shamans. At least that's the view of history in this area. Even though the tactics and everything are similar in nature, right down to dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but it's the method of ritual. What is employed, what is used, that is the thing that separates them. And going back even further, you see how they are actually two different practices. But this link that I found, and I've been studying this link little by little since the day before yesterday. And I actually read down through it a little bit, the night before, and then yesterday I delved into it, and to see how you have black shamanism versus white shamanism or yellow shamanism. These were practiced in Mongolia and Siberia. Now, Siberia happens to be a part of Russia. Okay. So again, I've been led right back into Russia. It's like, what the frick? What the hell? Right? I just can't get out of this freaking region. On one hand, it's kind of frustrating because I want to delve into other areas, but I want to get into other regions of the world, like getting into India practices, getting into Hungary, you know, um, getting into Asian mythology and history, and seeing the witchcraft, and seeing how this stuff arise, because through my own personal studies of world history and art, you see how Buddhism traveled all the way down into Japan, and China, and Vietnam, and Korea even, and seeing how it had a huge impact on their culture. But what's ironic is seeing where it actually derived from European standards, Scandinavian, Slavic, you know, Gaelic traditions, and how it was influenced just in Buddhism alone. But to be fair, everything that I've been studying has kept me literally in Scandinavian, if not Slavic, Russian folklore, mythology, history over the last 6 to 7 months. And I have to say, I'm still digging. It's like, to quote Morpheus from, oh, what's the name of that movie there? Morpheus there from that Keanu Reeves movie with Carrie Ann Moss. Well, got the red pill and the blue pill. Take the red, we'll see how far that rabbit hole really goes. That's the line. But I have to say that I don't see, at least at this point, the bottom of that hole, that rabbit hole. It's still going deeper and deeper and deeper. Yes, that's the one, The Matrix. Thank you, Raphael. Tells you how long it's been since I've actually watched movies. But yeah, it's really fascinating to see how far down that rabbit hole really goes. And what's interesting is when you get into social media and you get into to social groups on like Facebook or Instagram, everything everybody's got their own version of what they believe. You got people just creating stuff out of the blue. You got people that will argue with you over a single topic or word when there's an entire article that you've written that blows your theories and your perceptions out of the water. Operation Crossroads, what are you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you on here. So yeah, there's just so much going on, which is why you're welcome. So that's which is why I've decided to get rid of the paperwork that I've done so far and really begin a journal. Yeah, I wouldn't call this a journal. It's, like I said, it's more of a grimoire. And so far, I got that much done, just that much, and I still got all that to do. Okay, but you notice the names. Okay, the three different spellings that I've come across so far on necromancy. Nigromancy, spelled Nygromancy. Nigromancy, Nigromancy. And then you have necromancy, the more widely termed usage. And what's ironic is I had a conversation in a group on Facebook about 2 weeks ago, and people would rather go by necromancy because it has a much more pure connection to the spirits. And it's like that's just something more associated today in grimoire traditions. You go back into, say, Eliphas Levi, or you go into that of, say, Francis Barrett, okay? You're going to see the two applications of conjuration and rejuvenation utilizing corpses, okay? Otherwise known as a form of black magic. But yet you go back 500 years and you see where blood sorcery was introduced. You go back 1,000 years and you see where it's associated with shamanism. You go back even further and you see them separate. You go back even further than that, let's say around let's go with the Swedish, around, say, oh, I don't know, let's go with around 800. Okay? You're going to see the terminology changing. Instead of today's American term of witch, you have the hexa, which is HAXA, by the way, hexa. It's known as a Swedish witch, okay, or witchcraft, as it was named after. Okay. You go into African, and you have the Agi, Italian strega, as I said. You have, depending on where you're located in the region that you're in, you got the witch doctor, the priest or priestess. You have, the wizard, warlock, sorcerer. The different terminologies and definitions of practitioners. You have the various different meanings of how witchcraft was employed and how it was viewed, not just from the laws of the land, but also to the actual practices, where in European, most of the practitioners were actually women, with probably 25% male practitioners. And this is just stuff that I've come across in my own personal studies, by the way. So I'll keep you up to date on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. But I've got about 30 minutes before I have to be to work. And like I said, I'm going to be writing this grimoire, and I'm still working on my book. I'm pulling together all these sources just based off necromancy alone. So, and I am going to be writing this book solely for that. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with it yet, or who I'm going to be going through. I was thinking probably, checking out Warlock Publishing, put forth by Brian and Kane and Christian Day, or I could just simply go through S. Connolly, perhaps Bog, or even go through the Messagera. I don't know. You can even go through. What's that? Lulu Publishing. There we go. There's a lot of different publishing companies out there nowadays. I could go through Severed Heads as well, but I'm not sure yet on how I'm going to do that. I'm just concentrating on the books and writing it right now. But yeah, I will be giving you. Yeah, with Lulu, you basically cut out the middleman, from what I understand. So it's basically you're getting 100% of the profit. Well, about 90% really, because 10% goes to the publishing company. But still, that's still a lot of money going your way. So, I mean, the only issue I had when I tried setting it up, for my first book was for Satanism, the philosophy, which I just basically kept in PDF format and just placed it on Facebook and groups and stuff. By Angelus, son of Abaddon. is I didn't end up publishing it at all because nobody wanted to do it. So it was like, yeah, whatever. Um, but I mean, who wants to take a gamble on a new author, right? That's how it goes. You want people to get more experience, but yet you're not willing to work with them. It's the same thing with jobs, which is downright hilarious. How do you gain the experience if you're not going to let them, you know, grow in that area? Yeah, which is hilarious. They want people that's been a practicing, say, carpenter for like, say, 2 years, two or more years, but yet how do you get somebody fresh out of school who has a degree in carpentry and construction, but yet nobody's willing to take the chance to hire them because, oh wait, they don't have the 2+ years experience. It's like electricians or whatever. It's the same thing with publishing companies these days. So Lulu would probably be the best route, but I'll see. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But anyways, I'll keep you up to date on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. And until next time, I want to thank everybody who's appeared here. Raphael, Noel, Moe, Khan, Operation Crossroads. And until next time, have a good one.